Hey, I'm Ginny, and today we're going to make a rainbow in a jar. So this is a really fun project that has a little bit of science behind it. So for our materials, we have honey, we have light corn syrup, but I went ahead and colored it purple. We have dish liquid soap. It's best if you have a colored one. It can be green, blue, whatever you like. Then we have some water that I colored blue. Just make sure that it's a different color than all of the rest of this. And then we have some olive oil. And lastly, we have rubbing alcohol. And for that one, I colored it red. So in addition to those, you'll of course need the food coloring to color these. You'll also need a spoon, a pipette, or a straw. So these will have the same purpose. They're just to gently put in our rubbing alcohol later on. And then of course we need something to put all of this liquid in, our jar. So I'm using an old jam jar. So really you can use any kind of clear jar. It works best if it has a lid because then you can keep it for a while afterwards. But anything similar to this, it can be tall and thin, it can be short and squat like this one, whatever you like. Just know that the amount of what you put in is going to vary depending on your jar. Okay, so to start this out, for every one of these ingredients, except for the rubbing alcohol, we're going to want to pour straight into the middle of the jar. Don't get any on the sides, because that'll ruin the experiment. So we're going to start with honey. It's a beautiful golden color, right? And we want to put enough in so that there's a nice layer around the edges. And remember, pour it into the middle of the glass because we don't want to mess up. If you do mess up, that's okay, but you can always redo it. So I poured a good amount so that we have a nice layer. All right, next comes our purple corn syrup. We're going to do the same thing, pour it into the middle. And we're going to do this very gently because we don't want it to mess up. All right. So you can still see the honey as the bottom layer and the corn syrup. It's kind of making a little kind of a concave looking thing. But as it settles, the honey will kind of push it back up. All right, so we have that. Now we're going to do our dish soap. Again, we're going to pour very gently, and we're going to do it right in the middle. And the reason we're pouring gently, and you can even, take a spoon and kind of make sure that it goes a little more gently into the glass. But the reason we're doing this is to make sure that it doesn't break into one of the other layers of liquid. I'm going to do a little bit more. There we go. And we can see our next layer. So right now we have like an orangey yellow, a purple, and a green. And it's really cool because all the layers are staying the same. So for this next one, the water, I'm going to go ahead and use a tablespoon to pour it in the middle, just because water can go a little bit less gently than the others. And remember, you want to pour it into the middle. One more spoonful. There we go. And you can see our next layer, the blue. This is looking real good so far. All right, olive oil is next. I think I'm gonna do the same thing with this, and I'm gonna use my tablespoon measure to kind of help get it gently into the dish. You might see a little bit of mixture in it, but as it settles, it'll kind of take care of that. All right, so we've got our yellow layer. Gonna be real careful bringing it up to show you guys. All right, last layer, red. Now this is our rubbing alcohol. And again, we're gonna do nice and slowly. So I'm gonna use my tablespoon again. We're gonna pour that really carefully. This is the one that is even more, like, you wanna be the most careful with this layer. So you can even maybe kind of let it slide off the edge of the jar. So this is the one exception to that put it in the middle rule, because that will help the color stay separate. Because if it breaks through that oil layer, that's what we don't want. And again, it's okay if it messes up a little. It's okay. This isn't life or death here. And I think I did it a little too fast, because you'll notice we can't see the oil anymore, that yellow layer. So the two, I broke through the seal of the olive oil and the red dye got into it. It's possible that this will kind of settle after a while and that we'll be able to see the oil again, but if it doesn't, that's okay. So then you just put on your jar and you have a rainbow. So you can put this in a windowsill. I might put mine in the windowsill up there, because if you can see the colors, they go a lot brighter once they have the light behind them. So this project is really fun because first you get a rainbow in a jar, like that's cool, but second it teaches us a little science. So this whole project is about density. Now you might have heard that in your science classes before, but if not, density is defined by the space that a liquid or object takes up, so maybe rubbing alcohol, for example, in relation to its mass, so how heavy it is. So the heavier and the more compact an object or liquid is, the higher density it has. So we have our little experiment about which liquids are more dense than the others. And we get a beautiful rainbow. Another way to put it is if you have 3 identical containers. So I have these 3 containers. They are all the exact same size, the exact same product. This one has nothing in it, very light. This one has a little bit of water. It's a little heavier than the first one. And this one has a lot of water in it, and it's the heaviest of all. So out of those 3, which one do you think is the most dense? Same container, just different weights. All right, well, you can respond to that in the comments below, but I hope you guys had a good time making your rainbow. We'll see you next time.